So good morning, good morning. I know we're not quite live yet. We're going up any minute now. There we are. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is Wednesday. What day could it be today? The 19th of May. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Oh, haven't we waited a long time, it seems? A whole month of celebrating. And finally, we are arriving at the day. So first of all, before we begin, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who's giving me a lovely kiss on the cheek here. I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Chris, where are you?
I'm in Vermont, Rosemary. Happy birthday.
Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, do we have anybody on yet or not?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do? Because it looks, from my end, it looks like we've got nobody. It's just us. Uh, just, uh, what is it? Me, I forgot. Me, something, and I.
Me,
So anyway,
myself, and I.
there we are. That's what it is. I thought it was just me, myself, and I, but apparently it isn't. So, well, good morning, everybody. And shall we begin this show with the most important thing that we can possibly think about? Sorry, I'm getting phone calls all day. From 7 o'clock this morning from my lovely friend Denise. I don't know if she's on this morning. Thank you, darling. Right now, then, are you ready? We're having the reveal. Here it comes, here it comes. Yes, yes. The eagle and the rose. I'm trying to not get too much of a shine on it. Can you see that, Chris?
I can. I wish
20.
I was prepared for that. I would have had like the sound of applause in the background.
No, we don't need that. 25 years ago, today is the official date of the first publication of the Eagle and the Rose. And some of you might think that I've got the book out because I'm going to read from it, and you never know. I mean, the show isn't over yet, but we took a vote yesterday. When I say we, those of you who joined me on our Everything is Attitude show, can I see lots of yellow hearts or something going on there, and red hearts and all that
Big
sort of thing?
claps and red hearts, yes, and a lot of happy birthdays.
All right. Well, Chris, I think you said to me that we just on one of our Facebook pages, there's something like 400 happy birthday wishes. So thank you, everybody. You are lovely. I've just been going through my messages on Messenger. Lots and lots of happy birthdays on there as well. That's so sweet of you all. I'm putting on my glasses now because I'm going to read something to you. So don't worry, I'm not going to take up the whole time for reading. We're going to be talking as well. So this is The Eagle and the Rose. So where are we? There we are. Published 25 years ago today was the official publication. It was in the stores before then, but the official publication date and the party happened 25 years ago today. And so in this book, there are 5 parts to this book. The first part is called The Awakening. The second part is called Grey Eagle. You get the drift of what this all means, don't you? The third part is Case Book. The fourth part is The Power Expanded. We were talking yesterday. I was telling a story last night about creating the wind and how I went on a felucca, which is a small Egyptian boat. I went on a felucca on the River Nile and there was no wind. So, well, we had to do something about that, didn't we? You can't go in a little sailboat with no wind. So, anyway, so that's the fourth part. And then the fifth part is the message. I wonder what the message is. Anyway, I do really know, don't I? I want to read you just the stories that are in here, the casebook page. And there are, let me see, 4. Wait a minute. 4, 6, 8. There are 10 stories in here. none of these stories are mine. None of these stories are about me, except in that I was a part of these stories, because these stories are stories from the spirit world. These stories are what happened, true stories. My clients allowed me to put these stories in the book. That they at that time had to sign a waiver to say that I could do that, which was very sweet of them. In some of these stories, I use real names, but in others of these stories, I don't. Um, but the stories themselves, aside from the change of names, and in one particular story, a change of town or venue, because it was a very well-known story, and the lady who came to see me was concerned that uh, she didn't want everybody in the world to know that it was her family. She didn't mind for herself, but she didn't want to embarrass her sons. Anyway, so we did change the venue, and it happens to be the first story. But I thought I'd read, because it is, after all, the 25th anniversary. I know it's my birthday, but I mean, double whammy me, right? How about that? I've got a double whammy birthday this year. So the first story in the book is about jelly babies. The second story, The Illusion. Oh gosh, I wonder what that's about. The Strangled Lady. Yes, I do remember that. A lady who was strangled, actually by her husband, in a drunken rage. Oh, you want more? Do you want to hear more? Then go out and buy that book. Email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. She'll tell you exactly where you can find this book. The Strangled Lady. Let me see. Talks and services. That's about me going into different churches and what happened, and God's children. Confronting death. Yes, well. The coach crash. I remember the coach crash very vividly, because the gentleman who came to see me for a consultation, when he sat down, I really thought that he either had a very serious case of Parkinson's, or I thought that he had some sort of an affliction that made him tremble, because I've never quite seen anyone, unless it's been someone with a health issue. I've never seen anyone shake so badly. And I don't mean just his hands. I mean his entire body trembled and trembled and trembled. The poor guy just sat in his seat, shaking from head to toe. And this was before I'd said anything other than hello. It turned out that he was really, really afraid. He was afraid, as many people are when they come to see me. He was afraid. What if it works? Oh gosh, can I handle it? But what if it doesn't work? What if there isn't such a thing? And he put so much decision making into this. He put so much effort into this, and he was so terrified to come, but yet he had to come. On and on and on. And his wife had been killed in a coach crash, and that is an amazing story. It's an amazing story. Not the coach crash, but what happened when they sent the body, because they were on a tour overseas. He was on the coach with his wife, and they had a bad accident. He survived and she did not. And of course, being in a foreign country, they had to send the coffin back. Yes, well, yes. Am I tempting? Am I titillating? Am I getting you going just a little bit? The Little Girl and the Tiger, I might tell that story in a little bit. I'll do the shortened version, but lovely. It was one of my favorites. Mary, and then Louise. Louise is another of my favorites. A young girl who was mowed down by a car. She was on a bike, and she was mowed down and dragged down the road, and the car did not stop. And so that's a very tragic story, but yet a fantastic story, because it turns out to be, well, way less than tragic, actually, how she helps her sister and how she helps her parents. Excuse me. And I remember that story. Sorry. I remember that story really, really clearly because, everybody thinks that, when a medium sits down with somebody, that we have to be sort of calm and serene and, I've heard some mediums say that they don't eat for 24 hours before they have a session with somebody. That makes me stop and pause, because I'm always talking to the spirit world, and I'm always talking to people and giving messages from the spirit world. So if I had to fast before I did something like that, I would be starved to death. Um, but people sort of have an impression that we have to sit and meditate and we have to be calm and so on and so forth. But that isn't actually true, because some of the very, very best messages are when you're out shopping, or you're in a restaurant, or you're out having fun, or whatever it is. Because people view this as the paranormal or the supernatural, all those silly titles that people want to give. And I tell people I don't believe in the supernatural, and I don't believe in the paranormal. I think everything is normal and natural and exactly as it should be. And as we're living our lives, it's there. It's not going to disappear. And it's just because we're not listening, or just because we're not paying attention, or just because we're not meditating. So this particular morning with Louise, all I knew was that I had a man whose name was John, and he wouldn't tell me anything else about him, and I'd fitted him in on what was my day off. Yes, I was having a day off, the first in ages, and this man called out of the room, "My name's John." And I said, "Okay." So I start to say to him, "I'm sorry, but I don't have any dates until," whatever it was. It was several months ahead. And then Grey Eagles whispered in my ear. He said, "This one's urgent, Rosemary." So I said, "Okay then." So I looked and I saw my day off, and I said, "Okay, well, I can fit you in apparently next week, because I've got a day off. So you can have that if you like. Can you just give me your name so I can write it in my appointments book?" "No." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "No, I'm not giving you my name, and I'm not telling you anything about anything." And I didn't realize at the time, but there was a very good reason why that happened. There was a very good reason why he was obviously very on the defensive. So I said, "Well, you know what, I'm gonna have to put you down as something." He said, "John." I said, "Okay, I'll put you down as John then." He wouldn't give me a phone number, and I said, "You do realize then, if I'm called away, I can't contact you, and I can't tell you I'm not going to be here." And he was fine with that. So now comes the day. So I'm expecting John, whoever he is. And it turned out that it was actually his real name. He was really John. But for some reason or another, I'd been late that morning. Whatever it was that I was doing, I'd been late. And so I'm getting dressed, getting everything together. And I find one shoe, but I cannot find the other shoe. I'm searching all over the bedroom, and I'm rushing around, and I'm racing around, and I get on my hands and knees, and I'm climbing under the bed to look for the other shoe. I finally find it. But let me tell you, I was out of breath. I was a bit disheveled. And I sort of found the shoe, sort of stood up, took a breath, and thought, "Okay, let's get on and do this then," because I was late going down. It was a few minutes late, and I try never to do that. So I come flying out of my bedroom, get to the top of the stairs, and stop dead, because there in front of me at the top of the stairs is this lovely, lovely, young, sweet little thing. She was about 13 or 14 years old, Louise. And I sort of stopped dead at the top of the stairs, and she's looking at me, and I said, "Okay, so you're the reason I'm working on my day off." And she smiled, she turned, and she ran down the stairs in front of me, and I ran after her down the stairs. By the time I got into my little study, well, there she was, standing between her parents. So you see, so all of these stories are in this book. Anyway, so that's about Louise. And then let me see, and then of course The last story in the case book is about the scientist, which is a very famous story. I'm going to let you figure that out for yourself. That's a very famous story. Now, having said that, there are 10 stories in the case book series, but then there are many other stories. We begin with a story, and we end with a couple of stories. One is about David, and the other one is about the girl. And all of these stories are very, very powerful stories. Much more powerful because when you start to realize, not only are they true, we know they're true. Well, I know anyway, that whatever you believe is your choice, but I know that these stories are true. But the amazing thing I find about these stories, and the amazing thing I find about the communication with the spirit world, is that it's so real. It's like, really, because there's so much minute detail, so much that nobody else would want to care about, nobody else would want to talk about. Details that, I've been accused on many occasions over the years of having a private detective out there to find things out about people. But there are only so many things you can find out. You cannot find out the intimate details. Even a private detective can't go into somebody's house and see if that day they're making cookies and they forgot to put the chocolate chips in the chocolate chip cookies. Silly little details, that I remember once. There's a guy who sort of was talking to me. This was a consult on the phone, and and as we're talking, I think it was his father who came through from the spirit world, and the father said, "So, you tell him that we know that he's in the middle of painting his front door, and he's not sure about the red, but we like it." And so I said this to this guy. And he'd just about half an hour before he came on the phone with me, had put his paintbrush down because he was about halfway through painting his front door, and he painted it red, and he wasn't sure if he liked the color or not. And he just was flabbergasted because how could I possibly know that? And the amount of times I say to people, well, how do you think I know that? How do you think that? How do you think, that I can get this information? Because I'm actually talking to your father. He's standing in front of me. He's telling me all about himself, and he's telling me all about you. That's how I know these little silly details that mean nothing to anybody else. Right now, let's take a breath for a second. Then I'm going to tell you sort of I'm going to tell you a little bit, not entirely all of it, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about how did this come to be? How did this come into being? Chris, do we have any aside from, I know because I can see all the hearts, the flowers, the lovely stuff, and I do thank you all. And it is my birthday, and this is the 25th anniversary, and here we are celebrating. Do we have any comments or questions so far?
Most of them, as you were saying, are either birthday wishes or congratulations on the 25th anniversary.
Right.
Dean says he's going to have a drink tonight to celebrate in your honor. And were you only 10 when you wrote it?
Oh, you asked me? No, come on, to be serious. I was 20. Oh, all right. I admit I was 35. Okay.
Rhonda's saying she has several copies of your book, The Eagle and the Rose. When she came across someone that had just lost a loved one, she gives them a copy, and that the book has helped her so much after her dad passed in August.
Oh, Rhonda, that's so nice of you. It is that kind of book, isn't it? My friend Karen, who I don't know if she's listening or if she's forgotten that I'm on this morning. My friend Karen often buys 10 books at a time and then gives them out for birthdays and Christmases and so on. It does actually make a really great book. And even 25 years on, this is, I think, I can say this in all honesty and amazement, to be honest. It's not dated. It's not, I think it's as if you're reading something that happened yesterday or was published last year. It's, these stories, you can't date them. You can work out how old I am if you really want to do, which is fine by me. Carry on, do your research. But the stories don't date. And the story about becoming a medium and how these things evolve and how things happen, these things actually don't date. So this book, as much as it is 25 years old today, officially, it's his official birthday, as much as it's 25 years old, it hasn't dated. It's a bit like me, really. It hasn't aged.
I would agree, Rosemary.
What, are you agreeing about it being like me? Are you agreeing about it? This really is, something that you can literally pick up, and it doesn't feel like it's an old book. It doesn't feel like it's dated at all. I think it's an incredible and a fascinating book. Of course, I wrote it, so I'm going to say that, aren't I? But while we're talking about the book, and let's go back to the book just a little bit. There are two women who I must mention today. There are two women who featured very, very strongly in my life 25 years ago. And one is Joni Evans, who at that time was my agent at the William Morris Agency in New York City. And the other is my editor, Joanne Davis. These two women together were a power force. They were a powerful, powerful force. I was so fortunate to have them. I talk often about, the star can stand on the stage, but if nobody built the stage, or if the stage is wobbly or rickety or not built properly, the star is going to fall off that stage. The stage is going to crumble. And I can say without a doubt that Joni Evans and Joanne Davis were those two really strong women who, between them, built a stage for me to stand on. And without them and without their efforts, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you, would I? Certainly wouldn't be the 25th anniversary of The Eagle and the Rose. Because between them, they knew the right people to go to. They knew where to put the book. They were able to get the book published for me. And Joanne Davis, very, very especially Joanne Davis, helped me to let's say craft the book. She really knew how to make things work. Let me say, as far as publishing was concerned, and as far as writing was concerned. And I remember sitting in her office in the very early days when we first started working together. She first took me out to lunch, bought me a very nice lunch. There was a lot of that going on, I have to tell you. I went out to lunch more times in those days with so many people, meeting so many different people, publishers, publishing houses, TV people. I know, doesn't it sound awful? Sort of. I mean, I was wined and dined. I was taken out to lunch. I was taken out to dinner. I was fed rich food. I was wowed over. I was oohed and ahed over. People wanted to know more. People wanted to hear the stories. I remember the first time I went on the Larry King show, it was like, ooh, and she's and so on and so forth. And it's sort of, all of these celebrities were sort of coming out and wanting to know more and wanting to take me to lunch and so on. And I mean, it was very nice. I have to tell you, I can't say that it wasn't nice. It was very, very nice. But you had to get dressed up and put your makeup on every single day, and you had to be on. I had to be on all the time. And I can remember I was staying with Joni Evans at the time in her apartment in New York City. And I can remember coming back from the restaurant and walking home through the streets of New York. And you have to understand, I was born in a city and I was raised in a city, and it's a fairly large city in England. So you could say I was a city girl, but I had, I'd lived in the country for a long time, and I was used to country life, and I was used to sort of, let's say, maybe you could say a little bit slower pace, if you like. But I can remember walking home this particular day after the umpteenth, I'd lost count of how many lunches and how many dinners and how many parties and how many celebrities. And I was walking back to Joni's apartment this particular day on my own. It was sometime in the middle of the afternoon. And so I was coming back from another lunch. And I remember walking along the streets and thinking to myself, gosh, I'd give anything. I'd give anything for a cup of soup and a crisp bread. Now, you know what a cup of soup is, don't you? It's that, you get it out of a packet, you tear it, put it into the mug, pour boiling water on it, stir it, bingo. Asparagus, cup of soups were my favorite, and a crisp bread, like just a light, nice, crispy, toasty thing. And I just thought, I just walking on the street, and I thought, gosh, I'd give anything for a cup of soup and a crisp bread. I was so up to here with being wined and dined and fed and oohed and ahed over, and and everybody was nice to me. There was not one person that I can remember who wasn't nice to me, but it wasn't real. And the only time it felt real to me was when I would go into the bookshops and meet with real people, ordinary people, people who knew what life was about, people who worked for a living, people who didn't mix with celebrities, people who had to go to work and then they had to go home and clean the house and see to the kids. And I'm not saying that people who don't do that and don't have to do that, wealthy people, people who have money, they of course they are also real, and of course they have their pains and their heartaches. And I've been very fortunate in my life. I've been invited. I've stayed in palaces. I've stayed in mansions. I've stayed in the most spectacular hotels. I've flown first class all over the world. I mean, look at me. I mean, geez, you couldn't get a more spoiled person. And all of those people in those palaces and those mansions, they were mostly lovely and had their own. And when you sort of strip away all of the exterior stuff, they're simply ordinary people who've had their own pain, their own tears and their own losses. It's not about rich versus poor. It's about real versus not real, or real versus fake, if you like. And so I always felt that, it's very nice to be wined and dined and all the rest of it, but it was also really sort of very grounding for me to be with ordinary people and to be with people who just were coming to this awed by it, sometimes overwhelmed by it, but very, very much needing the confirmation and the affirmation that there really is a life after death. So in those early days of traveling, and then of course the book tours are a whole other thing, because you're exhausted and so on, but yet the adrenaline when you reach people, and just regular people and ordinary people, and they come to the bookstores and they line up for the book signings, I mean, that's the exciting part of it. That's the thing that is real. And then going on the Larry King show, and I remember my agent Joni Evans, I was in the bedroom. I was sitting on the bed, and so she came in and she said, we've got the Larry King show. And I said, yes, okay. And she said, so now don't you, Rosemary, that there are going to be millions of people out there. Now, this was in the early days. This is when The Eagle and the Rose first came out, okay? And she said to me, now you know that there are going to be millions of people watching. And I said, yes, I'm aware of it. And she sort of got a bit frustrated with me because I don't suppose I was reacting the way she thought I should be reacting. I don't know if she wanted me to just shake and tremble or what. I'm not really sure. So she said to me, you're not listening to me. She stood in front of me and she said, pay attention now. You're not listening to me. You've got to take this seriously. There are going to be millions of people, 15, 20 million people perhaps. And I said to her, yes, I am taking it seriously and I do hear you. Yes, I understand. And she sort of took hold of my shoulders and she shook me. She said, you're not paying attention to me. You're not listening to me. 15, 20 million people. And I looked at her and I smiled and I said, Joni, all I can deal with is this. There's going to be me. There's going to be Larry King. And there's going to be the cameraman. And I cannot think further than that. If I think further than that, I'm going to be petrified and I won't be able to do my job. So all I can see is what's in front of me. So there's going to be me, there's going to be Larry King, there's going to be the cameraman, and hopefully Gregor will be there, of course, and hopefully there'll be other people from the spirit world. We don't know. But I'm not thinking of those millions of people watching this TV. And she was a bit speechless and she didn't know what else to say. But I think it's my way, and over these 25 years, it's been my way of keeping myself grounded. There are lots of other ways to keep yourself grounded. I remember being in Canada and there were thousands of people in this auditorium, and it was amazing. And the Canadians are fantastic and they've always been really, really lovely to me, so welcoming to me, so nice to me. And so we were in this place and I was with a couple of friends of mine who'd come with me. And I did my thing, you know, and it was fine. We gave lots of messages and everybody had a great time. And we had at that particular event, I had a standing ovation, which was very nice. And then, you know, then you come out of there and then you have to go backstage. And usually 99.9% of the time, there are people waiting backstage for you. And you don't, when you've been working hard and you, especially if you've been dealing with, you know, a lot of people, and you know, you can be sometimes exhausted. It's you want to be nice to everybody and you want to smile, you want to be nice to them, but there are people there who are grabbing hold of you, the people saying, can you give me a message, whatever. So you have to learn to say no, because I'm only one little person. I can only do so much. But we went backstage and there were 2 or 3 young women out there, and for some reason, whatever it was, they took my eye, and I looked at them and smiled, and one of them grabbed my hand and said to me, you know, we're here for our mother. She couldn't come, she's too sick, she's dying, she's only got a very short time left, and she couldn't come herself, so we've come. Is there any way that you can just you know, say something for my mother, to just because she is a huge fan of yours? So I took this girl's hand and there was something going on. I just had this feeling, and Gregor had his hand on my shoulder, and I said to her, I said, so you're telling me that your mother's sick? And she said yes, and tears came to her eyes. And then these other 2 ladies, they were sisters, and they were getting a bit emotional. And I said, so where do you live then? And they told me where they lived. And I looked at the person who was organising, and I said, where is that? Is it very far away? And I remember the organiser giving me this weird look, and he said it was about a 15-20 minute drive. So I said, okay. So I looked at the girl and I said, would your mother mind if I came to visit her? And she looked at me, and you'd have thought, I don't know what you'd have thought I'd have said to her. Her face, she went into shock. And I said, well, you told me that she's ill and I would very much like it if I could give her some healing, if that's appropriate. Do you think that she would mind? Well, the next thing, we were whisked off in a car. My friends came with me, and we found ourselves in let's say, a less than luxury neighborhood, uh, in this enormous block of flats. And we went up in an elevator, and it was just block after block after block of plain apartment building. It's like an apartment building, and we went and knocked on a door, and we were shown into a tiny little apartment. And there in the living room, uh, all bundled up in blankets, was this lovely, lovely lady, a tiny little thing. And she had a respirator. She had like a mask on, and oxygen, and all that sort of thing. So I went into the living room, and I went straight to her, sat on the sofa with her, and she reached out her arms to me, and I just held her. So, and we sat and we talked, and we talked for quite some time. Now I'm thinking I'm going to see this lovely lady, and her daughters. I can't remember how many daughters there were, and so and they were there as well, and we were just sitting and chatting, and I was just holding this lovely, lovely person. She was very ill. She only had days left, and she was so excited to see me. And she had a photograph of me, which she showed me, and she said, will you sign the photo? And we were laughing about these things. We were just chatting. And all the time I was giving her some healing. And at some point I look up to find that this tiny little apartment is jammed, filled with people. And I sort of looked up, and I'm thinking, where did they all come from? And more interesting, how did they all get in there? And word had gone out, all the family, all the friends, everybody that could cram into this apartment, they'd all come to see me, and to see, to sort of, they couldn't believe that I'd come to give this lovely lady healing. And it was late at night, because we'd done the show, and then after the show we'd had to travel there, and we had a cup of tea, and then I sat to talk to everybody. We were there for quite a while. We were there for probably more than an hour, and then we left. And now, obviously, this was a lady who was, they didn't have much money, that's for sure. She lived in a tiny apartment. But she was the gentlest, the kindest. Her eyes, even though she was sick and she was about to leave us, her eyes were sparkling with joy, because Rosemary Altea was sitting in a living room with her. Now, everything is about attitude, isn't it? Right? This is what the results of this book have done. Just a little tiny thumbnail of what this book has done for us, for so many people throughout the world, and I do mean throughout the world. So we have choices, don't we? We can sort of bask in the accolades, and we can bask in the in the fame, and we can easy, because in the very, very beginning, I'll tell that story another time, but in the very, very beginning, I thought, wow, I must be something special. That lasted all of 5 minutes before Gregor showed me, hold on, we're not having this. But to go into people's homes, to see the family, to see the need, to see the pain, to see the joy and the love that people have for each other as well, and to be allowed into somebody's home, and to be allowed to be just a little tiny part of their life, I find is very, very humbling. It's very humbling. It's very joyful. It's very painful, because you come out of there, and you see how many people are going to be hurt in the next few days, because this lovely lady's going to leave us. You see the hurt and the pain. With my friend Karen, whose mother I knew very well, LJ, who, by the way, Karen, is right here and waving to you all. I'm often there to witness the families and the pain that they go through when you lose someone, the pain uh, and the heartache. But the fact that people are they they not only allow me into their lives, they welcome me into their lives, and the joy mingled with the pain and the hurt. And you know, you can't heal everybody. You can't make everybody better. But what the Eagle and the Rose has done for me over the years, it was another, let's say it was another stepping stone, a big stepping stone, because it took me from England to, I was already doing consultations around the world. People were calling me from all over the world. But these were just a few people. So the Eagle and the Rose was that sort of that platform. And that, you know, how you sort of, you stand on the platform on a diving platform, and you can dive off and trust that you're going to swim and that you're not going to sink. Or you can, let's say, no, not doing this. So it takes a certain amount of courage and a certain amount of I don't know what, belief, I think, to do this work. And you know, when I was younger, many of you know this, I was very involved in my church. It was Methodist Church in England, the Church of Christ, on Saffron Lane in Leicester, in England. Anybody out there listening who's from that area or knows that area? Interesting, right? And this church and the people in the church more so were people who actually helped me and supported me. And let's say I've always had faith and I've always believed in God, but they were the ones who showed me that it was right, that I should have this faith and I should have this belief. But as a Sunday school teacher, one of my favorite stories to tell my kids was the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Yes, I know, I used to tell my kids, it's a nasty story, isn't it? Daniel had so much faith and so much belief, and when he and the other Christians of that time, when they were given the choice to go into the lion's den or to denounce Christ, they went steadfastly into the lion's den and were destroyed by the lions. Now, were they scared? I bet they were. Did they go in there thinking, yeah, you know, we're going to do this? I don't think so. But sometimes your faith is so much stronger and so much more powerful, and it leads you to stand in the lion's den. And I always, when I used to read that story to my kids or tell that story to my Sunday school kids, I always thought to myself, you know, what would I have done? And I always had hoped that if ever there was that opportunity, or if ever there was that situation where you know, I had to live my faith and step into the lion's den, I always thought I want to be as brave and as courageous as Daniel. I don't actually now realizing, having having gone into that lion's den willingly, putting myself on all sorts of TV shows, putting myself in the line of fire, so to speak, because, you know, there are always people with their bullets willing and ready to take pieces. I don't think it's about courage, and I don't think it's about daring. I think daring to be, absolutely, but I think it's a question of owning your faith, living your faith, and just having faith enough to know that when you jump off that diving board, someone, and I'm looking to Gregor for this, and to God, and to all of those people in the spirit world who are out there, for me personally, my brother, my daddy, all of those people out there, I think, you know, they'll catch me, and I have faith that they'll catch me. And what this book has done, and taking me all over the world and going all around the world and celebrating the fact that we don't die every day of my life, I think that it's easier perhaps for me to, let's say, have the courage of my convictions. It's easy for me to just, because it's a knowing inside of me. I know that they're going to catch me. No matter how hard I fall and no matter how high I fall, they're going to catch me. And I think that what we try to do when we talk about this world of ours and when we do our shows and when Chris is so supportive of me and so supportive of what we're doing, I think what we're trying to do here is to help people to understand. It's not about having the courage, it's just about having. You have your faith, learn to live it. And so for our 25th anniversary of the Eagle and the Rose, and for my guide, for all of those in the spirit world who have helped and who are part of this book in their own way, and to all of you out there, I do want to say very much thank you so much for everything that you did for me. And how nice that I can say that on my birthday. Right, I'm done talking. Chris, anything else that we have to say there?
Yes, I'm going to read you something because it
You are.
has always made me think of you this way.
Okay.
And it's a
Okay.
quote from Teddy Roosevelt, who is an American
Oh,
president.
I know this quote.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Now, Cheryl wrote, I think we all love you, Rosemary, because you do things like this for us ordinary people. You don't treat us like we're lesser because we're not rich. Thank you for all you do.
That's so nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, I think we are all rich, actually. I think we are, and you know what I'm going to say now. I think we're rich in our love for each other. We're rich in our beliefs. We are rich in that, we have so very much. We have the gift of tears. We have the gift of pain. We have the gift of heartache. We don't want those gifts, do we? Absolutely not. We really don't want those gifts, but they make us more aware. They make us more sensitive. They make us more empathetic. They make us more sympathetic. They teach us that, not only are we suffering, but we then recognize, because of our own suffering, we recognize the suffering of others as well. So all of these gifts that are given to us that we really don't want, if we could give them back, we would, except that, I honestly believe that, if if Grey Eagle were to say to me, okay, it's time, you off you go, you're off, but then we're going to do this, we're going to do this all over again in another way, in another life, um, would I do it? And I might not want to do it because it's painful and it's really hard work. And, when you talk, when the quote says about being in the arena with dust on your face, and yeah, let me say, we all know, you all know, those of you who work hard, you know how hard it is sometimes to keep your head above water. But for all the heartache and all the pain and all the grief and all the tears, would I do it again? You betcha. And I wouldn't think twice about it. I would, if I thought that I could make a little bit of difference, if I thought that I could inspire people a little bit, if I thought that I could, make that one little bit of difference, I would do it again. And I always think it takes one small person to rock the world. Just one tiny voice can rock the world. We see it again and again. Unfortunately, sometimes we see it in a negative way. But if we all join together and our voices are all joined together, think what we can do. If it can take one small voice to rock the world, think how much we could rock the world with our many voices joined together, and we could rock the world in a very good and a very positive way. Okay, Chris, we've got a few minutes left, so let's take any more comments and questions, or anybody else would like to say anything. And thank you for that quote. It's one of my favorites.
I agree. One of mine too. I know you're going to read all your comments later with all the happy birthdays, so I'm not going to read individual happy birthdays.
We are going to, just for everybody's information, we are going to, once we've gone offline, once we're not live anymore, Chris and I will go through all the comments, as we always do.
Heather says, even though I've been out of touch for many years, I've been a fan of yours and telling people about you for at least 30 years. So it's all the more special to see you online today as ever. Enjoy your special day.
Oh, thanks, Heather.
Let's see. Christine says, I feel strongly that the book picked me up. It brought me such confirmation, validation, and I resonated so much with the unlimited potential that it represented to me. I am forever grateful for your sharing.
Oh, thank you, Christine.
Let's see. Lori says, oh my birthday email was pretty prophetic and guided as I listened to this. Thank you for listening to God's call to come be here for us, Rosemary.
Thank you, sweetie.
So most of them, as I said, are just
okay. I think Chris, what we'll do is you and I will get together afterwards, and we'll go through them all. Now, I also know that so many people, hundreds of people, in fact, have written in on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, you name it. You're all over the place. Everybody wishing me a happy birthday and happy 25th anniversary. And so if I don't know quite what to say to you all, except it's not enough, but it is all I have. Thank you so very much for all of your support, all of your help, and so on. We probably are going to be back later on. I don't quite know why yet. Maybe we'll do an off the cuff or something later on. How do you feel about that, Chris? You up for an off the cuff?
It's your birthday. We will do anything you like.
It's my birthday and I'll laugh if I want to. I'll do anything I want to. I've got some parcels to open. I've got some beautiful flowers here. Some of you have sent me gifts, chocolates, flowers, so on, and there are no names, so I can't say an individual thank you to all of you, but it's so sweet of you. Thank you very, very much. And please don't think I'm ungrateful, because I'm absolutely not. I would like to leave you with this one thought, and I have no idea what it is. And I'm only saying it because Gregor is saying to me, let's leave them with this one thought. So I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting for him to give me that one thought. And this thought is, okay, this thought is, you can make every day a special day. So even though it's my birthday, and even though it is my 25th anniversary of the Eagle and the Rose, for all of you out there, you can either share my celebration or you can have your own, because we should every day celebrate our lives. We should every day say thanks to that higher power, that higher source, for giving us the gift of life. And as I said earlier, yes, some of the gifts we might not want them, but they're going to be there for us to make us stronger, to make us more of who we can be. So please, everybody out there, thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for all of those wonderful birthday wishes. If you don't catch me again, we will be back tomorrow with our The Spirit World Sees All I Have to Think. On Friday, we're doing another bottom brick. You can see all of these shows. They've all been recorded. We're getting so much interest in our exercise, the bottom brick, and so many people wanting to do it. So we should be doing webinars at some point. Talking of webinars, yes, the culmination of the week, we are on Saturday the 22nd, that is in about whatever, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in 3 days time, we will be I'm laughing at Gregor, we will be hearing from Gregor directly. We'll be doing direct voice. The webinar is going to be amazing. If you want to know more about that webinar, I think there's still 1 or 2 tickets left. You can go to my website, rosemaryaltea.com, all one word. Just click on the webinar button or whatever it is. It'll tell you there how to sort of go about it. Or you can email Chris, K-R-I-S, Chris at rosemaryaltea.com, and she will help you to do the very best that we want you to do for yourself. So okay, that's it. I think all the housekeeping is done for now anyway, but I'm pretty sure I've got balloons, by the way, all over the house. I should actually put those balloons behind me the next time we come on today. I've got balloons everywhere. I've got beautiful flowers everywhere. I've got chocolates that are in the fridge because I like my chocolates nice and crispy and crunchy and hard. I'm going to go and have a chocolate now, I think. And yes, Dean, I should be joining you for a drink later on today. We'll be doing an off the cuff probably, or something anyway, because how can we let the day go by and not do something during the day? So until I chat to you either later on today or until I see you through the week, thank you so very much, all of you, for all of your lovely wishes. I do feel so well loved. You all make me feel so well loved, and so thank you. Please, all of you, have a very blessed, and I mean that, blessed, have a very blessed day, everybody. Bye-bye.